Hey guys, welcome to my channel, and today we're reading When They Have a Nightmare by Magnolia Unkodev. So let's get into it. Hinata. He had an awful dream. He had dreamt that he had lost you. You died in front of him in a car accident, and he couldn't do anything to save you. He would wake up crying, trembling, and would probably call you to make sure you're still there. And if you're nearby, he'd sneak through your window and wake you up just to cuddle with you and hold you in his arms. Sure, it might have been a simple nightmare, but to him, it was terrifying, and you could see that as he explained what happened in the dream to you. As he stroked his hair, he would sleep over at your house after you agreed to it, of course. And truly, the dream never goes away from his mind, so he uses it as an excuse to cuddle with you now. Kageyama, he would just wake up sweating, nervous, because he had a dream you broke up with him, that you left him because of his poor control over his temper, and it wouldn't have been the first time he was abandoned for that cause. He'd first get up to get some milk to drink, to relax himself. Then he would either FaceTime you or send you multiple texts. Honestly, he wouldn't tell you at first, but after a while of you two cuddling, you'd get it out of him eventually, and he'd tell you, and you'd whisper soft words of comfort into his ears, telling him that he was a different person now, that Kageyama was in the past, and that he is a new version of himself, one that you were proud to be with. Sugawara. You would probably have to wake him up first. He would hug you in your sleep. So, when he was having a nightmare, or felt scared in his sleep, he would probably squeeze you a lot. And that's how he woke you up. And so when you did, you tried to wake him up, as gentle as you could. And once he was awake, he'd hug you even tighter and cry into your back or neck, sad. He doesn't want you to see him cry, so he would only ever pull back when he was done and could talk to you again. He would tell you about his dream, and you would gladly comfort him, telling him that you'll be okay and that everything will be alright. You'll be together, and no one could separate you two. Tsukishima. Palms sweaty, knees weak, arms heavy. You knew the drill. Tsukishima would just sweat like hell, and when he'd wake up, he'd either call you immediately or send you random ass texts. "Hey, why are you texting me?" You'd text back, concerned and kind of amused by the other random messages you were getting. But being the person he was, he would keep it all to himself, and you would get a shallow response saying he was bored. Kuroo. He would try to be collected and not panic or cry. He didn't want to overreact by his standards, and the first step to being calm was distracting himself, so he'd get up and make someone to drink or eat while watching a random TV show playing, and doing his best not to think about the dream. No, he wasn't losing you. You were fine, you weren't hurt, and everything would be okay, he'd tell himself. And the next day, he would either tell you about it, or you would have no idea it even occurred. But if there was something that never changed, it was the fact that his bed hair would always look way worse the next morning. Oikawa, while you may not have expected that, he would actually react strongly to all of that. He loved you to the moon and back, and couldn't even handle the idea of losing you. Of course, he knew it was eventual, because the two of you are not immortal after all. But at the same time, just thinking about that made him feel immense pain, so he tried to avoid it. He would keep reassuring himself that you would never leave him, that the two of you would be together forever, as he buried his face into his knees, crying quietly, as he tried to forget about the dream. And the next day, he'd be way more affectionate with you, making you lunch sometimes, or he would just act more affectionate towards you. It would honestly be anything, as long as he got to see you happy, and as long as he got to see you smile, because that was all he needed. Nishinoya, he would be really spooked and terrified, even though most of the time he tries to act fearless and badass. He was actually really scared this time and had no idea what to do. At first, he would fall out of bed, and most of the time, that gave you both something to worry about more than the nightmare. Thankfully, most of the time it wasn't that bad. His strangled scream whenever he wakes up from the nightmare would be a mix of pain and fear, and you would immediately get up afterwards. Unless somehow he didn't wake up to his scream, then he would wake you up himself, so he could cuddle you and hold you close to feel comfort, and tell you about his nightmare. After all, no one could comfort him the way you did, and he was glad to have someone like you who cared about him and loved him, and he hoped the amount of love he loved you would be enough, because he could never imagine living without you in his life, because to him, you were more than the galaxy and the stars of the world combined.